become a shade. Years they sleep inside a moment, wake upon a blade. Resist, remain, shaken from the still. Resist, remain, no more time to kill. Breaking out through the doors, is there nothing worth saving anymore? Split the pillars of war, is there nothing worth saving anymore? Hope is an ember in the dark. Spark of resistance will come on. Brothers burn the bonds of order, sisters slash the chains. Concrete titans scar the skyline, rotten to the grain. Resist, remain, flawless has no face. Resist, remain, rightness has no race. Breaking out through the doors, is there nothing worth saving anymore? Split the pillars of war, is there nothing worth saving anymore? Hope is an ember in the dark. Spark of resistance will journey it began because you died. Out of your cell you ran and then you died. You paused to catch your breath and die another gruesome death, so now you creep around each corner terrified. Humanity restored and then you died. A graveyard to explore, denied. For every step you take is just one more fatal mistake, so you must learn to take the torture in your stride. Bells chime, torment, darkest descent, every soul spent, to sent. Down in the depths of the dead, feel the agony, scars from 1,000 wounds in your memory. Over and over, grind through the butchery. Once more you run this gauntlet of misery. Sun's rays, behold and offer praise. Look to the sun's rays, comfort in the glow. Brave you may be, you think that your mind is tough. Come have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Hello everyone and welcome to Final Show. I'm John, the executive producer here, and I've just got a few pre-show notes for you. First of all, I want to let everybody know that our addresses have changed. Our Twitch channel has changed from Senstaku to twitch.tv/FinalShowFilms, and our YouTube channel has also changed to youtube.com/FinalShowFilms. Next, we want to thank our $20 tier supporters on Patreon, which is patreon.com/FFilms, by the way, if you want to go throw a couple bucks our way. That's going to be Cat Waterflame, Antitonic, Samantha Bates, and Maureen Monty. Thank you guys for that. Also, our website is in the process of getting updated, so go take a look at finalshowfilms.com. We've got Mara and Jeremy are working on updating all of our stuff there, making it look nice and like a modern website, and frankly, they know what they're doing far better than I or Austin ever did. So if you want to check out the things that are changing over there, you go do that. Follow us on Twitter at Final Show Films for updates for all future things, including things that are going on with our website and going on with the Patreon page, and things that are going on live as we stream them, as well as our podcasts and everything else. So thank you very much for watching. Y'all have a good day. And with that, we're live. Hang on, wait, they cannot hear. Hold. Now they can hear you.
And we're back. So,
I can't
hello,
believe you
everyone.
said that, William.
Welcome back to Hunter the Vigil Terminus Tendency, our New World of Darkness Hunter the Vigil Chronicle, as I stumble over myself having to do it a second time. I am William, and I am your storyteller, and joining me today we have Jack.
Hey everybody, I'm Jack. I'm playing Nikolai Delka, the member of the Ascending Ones, the team medic, and the guy who is really trying to figure out where he fits in this whole thing.
And Aaron.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I am playing Drew, the patron asshole of the team, member of the Lucifuge, and in general scholar slash link to one of our enemies.
And Jeremy.
I'm Jeremy. I'm playing Kayla Wynn. Network Zero. Person. Information. Knows lots of shit.
Journalist? That job that you do?
Journalist, yes. Believes in transparency to perhaps a detrimental degree to herself.
So you're saying she's not opaque.
Is opaque.
She believes in being honest about the opaqueness of people. Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And
Like you believe in.
He happily acknowledges that everyone is not see-through.
And John.
I have new, not janky, together by electrical.
Good. And Holly.
I'm Holly. I'm playing Astrid Ashwin, a member of Knights of St. Adrian.
And Craig.
Hi, I'm Craig. I'm playing Paul Phillips, Aegis Kaidoru, Agent of the Scroll.
Yep. And before we return to current events, we go ahead and step forward to an undisclosed location in a dark room as a gentleman continues to give his report. So, as things proceed to escalate even further among the situations going down all throughout Atlanta, things get a little bit more and more dangerous, and, well, our gentlemen and our ladies that are forming up this cell, while they're handling themselves rather well, that confidence is short-lived. Well, and if nothing else, anytime that any of them start to get headstrong, something comes around just to put them right back in their place, as you'll see coming up shortly. And with that, we rejoin the group as the group of you, one of you having made a call to Brother Kindness, have been greeted by the mage of the Akashic Brotherhood, as far as you have been told, as he leaped from a building and landed with a graceful and impressive show of acrobatics and ability, especially for anyone as old as he is, as he arrives on the scene and greeted the group with a warm smile and a word of kindness as he arrived, and that's where we pick up.
What do I know about the Akashic Brotherhood in terms of their interest in keeping their own activities subtle and secret?
Roll me intelligence and occult.
All right.
Nico leans over to Astrid and just says, "Who's this guy?"
He used to take care of the Colleen magic girl.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I was just going to say, what do I potentially know about them, period?
Go for it. You can go ahead and roll me intelligence and occult as well. Sure.
I realize this is not necessarily the spirit of the specialty, but does cults apply?
Not quite.
Okay.
Any bonus from
Traditions are not cults.
Yeah.
Any bonus?
Some
from
of them might qualify, not the Akashic Brotherhood. What was your question, Craig?
Any bonus from being a member of the Aegis?
I just had an extra one.
Okay. 3.
Nico
Okay.
just saw a guy like jump off a roof and land on the porch. Can he just roll intelligence and occult on what the fuck that was?
That seems like.
Nope, no clue. Okay.
You had your red eye on though, didn't you?
That's worn off by now. I guarantee the red resin is gone by now.
It lasted a scene.
Yeah, and I drank it in the hedge.
Okay, yeah. We'll say that wasn't there anymore. But yeah, you don't know anything about it. With 2 successes, 0, you know that the Akashic Brotherhood is a name that is associated with an order of mages. You don't know a whole lot about them other than that they have a vaguely monkish aesthetic. With 3, Spanner, you know that the Akashic Brotherhood are a group of mages with, again, a very sort of monk, very Shaolin aesthetic, or different varieties of sort of martial arts monastic traditions that has sort of the mind over matter mentality when it comes to their feats of the supernatural, and so a lot of their magic is a lot more strikes as something out of a kung fu movie in a lot of ways usually.
Do I have any idea if we're going to need to do some cover up here after
you
whooshing all over the city?
Probably not, as far as you can tell. But with 4 successes, Kayla, you know what they know. Also, you know that the Akashic Brotherhood are also legit the real deal when it comes to martial arts. They're not just magicians who do martial arts. They also have some insane martial arts techniques that most people in like the modern world can't hope to compete with, to the point that you're not certain that he did magic when he jumped off that rooftop.
I've seen some videos and read some accounts.
Yeah. Like you're not 100% certain that him doing that jump from the rooftop involved any of his magic.
Right. Cool.
So, as he offers a nod of the head as he looks across the group.
I have a question. Did we want to talk to Brother Kindness?
Pauline asked to.
Yeah.
I remember there being an...
Oh, because her dad who made her...
Her dad, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone looking, you were trying to find a way to communicate with Alexander the Fate Weaver. Yeah. And so he offers a nod and a smile and a warm smile to the group as he enters the room. So, I understand that you have need of me again, young Colleen, he says as he looks over at the girl who sort of sits up from her prone position on the couch and sort of leans up and adjusts herself so that she's leaning on the couch as opposed to laying down on it, and kind of looks up at him. Yeah. These guys will probably be able to explain a little bit more, but I need to find the spot where my father died. And Brother Kindness kind of closes his eyes and nods for a moment. Very well. I can bring you to that location. I imagine that the rest of you will likely also have questions that will need to be answered before we depart, unless you are simply ready to leave now.
Paul, who is, I think, at this point standing next to Colleen, looks down at her and says, "Is there anything you're going to need to do to prepare? I mean, I don't know. This seems like a big deal. If it's nearby, anything you want to take or anything you want to have available?"
I don't even know what I'm going to be doing there, she says as she looks up at you. I literally never met the man, so
what is Zaro doing? Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. All right. I was going to pull Zaro aside, but I'm not going to do that if it looks like I'm about to say something.
Yeah.
that is a talent available to some of the orders, though it is no specialty of my brotherhood. There might be one or two within the order who have practiced such techniques. I see. Whatever information you're looking to extract might also potentially be somewhere within the remains of his laboratory. His place of study was
There's a lab?
not as such as you might understand it.
No.
Just so we're all fully in the know here, when we're talking about this person, how would we classify this individual?
Dead, I think.
In what regard? Alexander the Fate Weaver was a unique man of great aspiration.
If I might,
That
I
aspiration
think the
was that aspiration of the arcane nature, of the undead nature, of the furry nature, of the ghost rising from the dead nature? Like,
I could. He's definitely a mage, the old man says.
You know which order he was?
He shunned orders. He walked between them and studied from all of them. He was an individual who his aspirations were as limitless as his potential. And he seems to have pushed himself far into the deep ends of them. And it ultimately, as far as I can tell, led to his death in the same instant that it led to Colleen being discovered by us.
Can you tell us anything more about the manner in which he departed this world?
Well, there is an open field.
So not an apartment building. Just wanted to check. All right, so open field. Sorry.
There is an open field that is known to be an open field as far as any modern records and understanding goes. It was not always such. The backlash of Alexander the Fate Weaver's meddling and efforts to fulfill whatever his goals were, I do not even understand them entirely myself, not only reduced the area that he had stayed upon to rubble and then cleared it away. It wiped much of the surrounding landscape from existence and history.
That's with magic. Magic. It's your.
Is there any correspondence between your Alexander and the vampire that we have here?
No, that, as far as I can tell, having encountered the vampire myself, is more of a coincidence.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, as Alexander Ravenhall, who is in the room, says, "Yes, I believe I have never been a mage who has been destroyed by my own magic."
It's not actually that uncommon of a name.
I don't know how this magic stuff. I mean, if magic like entirely rewrites history, maybe it did make this Fate Weaver guy into.
Hang on, really quick. Currently. Oh.
Was your mic muted, but everyone else's was not?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
Not you.
Always could.
Not you.
The stream.
The stream.
Can the lobby hear John?
Apparently, my computer was listening to a different microphone this entire time.
Oh no.
Don, I just want to say, while we wait for an answer,
We just got
I
an answer.
appreciate that as soon as Aaron sent that message, you stopped and looked at something to your left, and you held that exact position long enough that I wondered if your screen froze.
Full body control is the thing I've had to practice
Also,
being ADHD.
shout out to Mara for telling me in Slack.
All I'm saying is that if magic can rewrite time and history and stuff, maybe magic got pissed off at Alexander the Fate Weaver and decided to shuck him a couple hundred years into the past and make him undead. That's all. And left him intact with his first name just for laughs.
Or shunted him a couple thousand years in the past.
And made him
then
king of
ended up
Macedonia?
conquering Macedonia.
I never
or maybe
speak,
just
I never
like a
speak my
couple
age.
hundred, and then he invented the telephone.
It's
Paul has a migraine.
it is impolite to ask a vampire his age.
I feel like
That's why I listed into specifics, or just a couple decades in the past, and made him Skarsgård's son.
I feel that perhaps attempting to extrapolate the full consequences of this person's activities probably will get us nowhere but standing here longer.
But
Bonding moment.
I will say that the one thing that was found in the aftermath of the backlash that claimed Alexander the Fate Weaver, he looks over at the couch.
There's 2 legs and a lot of questions.
Indeed.
Wait, what happened? Sorry, there was a reference
Colleen.
to... Oh.
Colleen happened.
No, there was a reference to something with 2 legs and a lot of questions, and then everyone stopped talking, and I missed what the reference was about, so I didn't know if I was supposed to be saying something or not.
Or a couple
The answer
hundred
is
years
Colleen
in the past,
survived
he
the
was
magic
born on a
trap.
Caribbean island and became the first Treasury Secretary of the United
Sorry,
States.
I get anxious when a room gets quiet and everyone is looking relatively at me.
We're not looking at you. We're looking directly forward.
You're looking...
It just looks like
Yeah, you're looking at your cameras, which means you're looking at me.
Or me.
You don't know what I'm looking at.
That's why I said relatively at me.
Drew will
Anyway.
Hey, you don't get to do anyway, Jack. You were just making Alexander Hamilton references.
Yeah, but Drew had something to say.
Drew?
I guess before we go, probably do any of us have ghost seancing abilities? Because
I'd probably have to
Apparently-
take a few days to brew one of those up.
Apparently, Dr. Frankenstein over here does.
Please.
speaking to if they're in the area, I'm asking if anyone has summoning.
Please.
That would
Frankenstein would be the...
complement
Frankenstein is the doctor. I'm clearly Frankenstein's monster.
They're both. Shush.
Paul shrugs and says,
That.
there are artifacts that might be able to do the job, but probably not anything I could requisition on short notice.
If the spirits are nearby, I can sense their location. It's beyond that we would require something that could draw them to.
All right.
William, do I know generally what draws ghosts to a location?
You are specialized in demons and the afterlives, so yes, go ahead and roll me a cult. Let's see what you know
Cool.
specifically.
Technically, my specialty is dreams, so I'm assuming I don't get the specialty bonus. But do I get any other bonuses for
Get an extra dot for being a lucifuge.
being a lucifuge who cares quite a bit about reincarnating souls?
Yep.
5 successes because the dice apparently decided I'm allowed to have successes.
So, spirits have a variety of different conditions, especially spirits of the supernatural. Like the mundane ghosts have a variety of different methods, and supernatural ghosts have even more so. But the one thing that always draws a spirit is something that it had an incredibly potent emotional and psychological connection to in life. So if Colleen is as important to Alexander the Fate Weaver as it seems, her sheer presence might serve to draw his ghost out. That does, however, function on the caveat of if his ghost exists. Because his spirit could have just moved on.
All right.
Or been obliterated by whatever killed him.
Okay, so based on that, I'm sorry, Jeremy.
Oh no, that's fine. Go ahead. We were waiting on you.
Based on that, I'm gonna say okay. So, assuming that he left a ghost, our best shot, absent someone having a specialty thing, would just be Colleen. Colleen, given that your dad has apparently got a, I mean, obsession with you, that would be the thing that would draw his ghost.
I hate to be the person to bring this up because it might conceivably not make me very popular. But look, I don't have an issue with gesture towards brother kindness. Those, if you're not doing anything bad, it's fine. But do we really think bringing an entity across the realm of the dead into this world, isn't that exactly the opposite of what we're in theory supposed to be doing?
From what I know of ghosts, and I know a reasonable amount, ghosts are a lot more documented than those that maintain their own privacy. Vague gesture to the supernatural members of our group. That shouldn't happen. The only way we'll be able to make contact is if he's already a ghost and already has the emotional tethers that would bring him to the location. He might move, but we aren't bringing back anyone that has crossed any sort of threshold.
No.
If we can talk to him this way, he is already a ghost.
Right. I'm not saying if he's a ghost, he's a ghost. That's good information. My concern, from the sounds of it, this is a mage who somehow in one way or another fucked up hardcore enough to blast a portion of the earth out of existence,
Or altering its previous existence to a new one.
Yeah. And we want to, I don't know what powers he might have in
Talk to him.
what he currently is. Bring him within proximity of the person that he created in doing that exact same. Does nobody see risk here?
Oh, absolutely there's risk there. But there's risk inherent in everything we do. And if it's a option that comes with risk, but also comes with the potential for acquiring information as to what it is that is drawing the various and sundry creatures of the darkness and night into our city, and coalescing them into a cooperative form in order to do who knows what, I'd rather take the risk and get the information than not take the risk and have no information.
Drew, it sounds like you've got some degree of familiarity with ghosts. How much of a risk is that? Can mages still practice magic beyond the veil?
Drew, you would know that it's undocumented of any mages being still strong practitioners after death, but it's not theoretically impossible. Usually speaking, it's something about the mage's consciousness and spirit allows them to bend the rules of reality. So theoretically, if they remain intact enough to remember that, they might still be able to do it, but it's not been recorded.
It's a risk. It's something to consider, but the one who wanted to talk to Colleen kind of gets to make this choice. It is all about.
Oh, I'm right there with you on that point. I thought depending on what the information is, we might be able to take proper preparations or assuage any concerns that have been expressed. How mobile are spirits like this? Are they?
Ooh, can I make a roll for that?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
I assume intelligence and occult?
Yep.
I have a question, William.
Yes.
Having been someone that had ghosts following me around for most of my life, do I know the answer to this question?
You might know a little bit. You can also make me a roll.
2 successes.
3 successes.
Cool.
Do I get any modifiers?
Extra +1.
4 successes.
All right.
The dice agree.
So all of you generally know that ghosts are, typically speaking, not freely mobile. They usually can't just go wherever and whenever they want. Usually they have something that they are bound to, something that draws them. With the 3 and 4 successes, Drew and Zero, you both know that doesn't have to be a place. It can be a person, it can be an item, it can be a variety of things. Sometimes it can even be a concept. But generally speaking, ghosts have something that binds them, that draws them, that they cannot stray too far from.
Do you all share that information?
I wait to see if Drew says anything.
Drew, well, it's yes and no. The mage thing aside, because that's not even. If there aren't cases of it, we can speculate all day about what it might mean, and we won't know. The rules of ghosts they're restricted in a way. They're restricted to a thing. They're restricted to a something. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean a ghost never moves, but it's not always entirely an option.
Amalia calls them anchors.
The object, person, concept, place that the ghost is bound to is what limits their movement. Depending on how large an object or place or concept is, or how mobile a person or item it may be, determines how far they can go. But they are bound to an area around whatever that is.
Well, I don't necessarily want to share the chill that just ran up my spine, but the thought occurs that if they're not specifically bound to the place where they died, but rather to the place where to whatever object or person may bind them. Do we know for a fact that they haven't been following us around all this time?
Yes. I would see them.
Thumb at 0, emphatically.
I can tell you for certain there are no ghosts here right now.
As long as they haven't manifested or aren't hiding from you, trust me, dude.
They
There's
can't-
way more going on.
They can't hide from me.
I doubt that seriously, but okay.
I think this may be the first time that we're learning, or at least maybe that I'm learning, that this is something that's active all the time for you.
Yes. I can see ghosts. I can see ghosts even when they do not manifest for other mortal eyes. I can see them when they are hidden in the veil. They cannot hide from me.
Okay, so talking.
It's actually somewhat reassuring.
Talking precautions. Is there some way to do? Before I say this, I understand that ghosts are not demons, so don't jump on me for that.
Ghosts are demons.
But, I mean, they're not, but cool.
Is everything a demon to you? Alexander asks.
That seems to be my understanding.
Yeah,
Yes.
most to all of the magical things are kind of by definition demons.
Based on several very loud arguments I listened to between him and a rock star, that seems to be the case. But anyways, my point is there some sort of, I don't know, Seal of Solomon type fucking supernatural-esque salt circle fucking thing that we can use to trap this person before we get him to manifest, so that he doesn't cause mass chaos and destruction should he have that capability. Because I'm hearing a lot of, well, we don't think he can, but not a lot of he definitively cannot.
Well, we could attempt to hire a sin eater, but good luck finding one of them.
Also, to be clear, that there being no documented cases of such a phenomenon, and we think he can't, are two very distinctly different phrases.
That's kind of what I was asking. Alexander, I think that's the accent William was doing.
Yes, that was Alexander speaking.
Alexander's right. There's people who have abilities, varied abilities, including those relating to ghosts and the trapping thereof. We don't have access to those people, right, as I gathered from asking if anyone could,
William.
Yes.
Do I have access to anybody in the Chiron group that I could call that more than I do specializes in dealing with ghosts?
Roll me intelligence and Chiron group status.
Is there someone I could call in for backup?
You and your ton of dots of contacts.
Now I'm curious if the Chiron group actively employs sin eaters.
4 successes. We employ whatever we think is useful to get the job done.
Give me a second for the PDF to load up. Fox is being real slow right now.
No worries. As you do that, let's argue some more. Listen, Zero, I'm not trying to say that you're wrong. I am trying to say that just because, and I'm not talking about your group, I'm talking about all of our groups combined, having 0 documented cases of it means absolutely shit, because there's no way that we have any idea the depth of what can of what there is, what can be done, etc.
The point I was making, which may have been misunderstood, and I apologize if it was that there is a difference between I don't know, I guess he can't, and From our experiences, we have no evidence that he can.
Oh no, absolutely.
That being that while it is entirely possible that anything could happen, this ghost could manifest a physical form, summon forth a giant pink dildo bat, and beat us all to death. Possibly. But if we plan for the giant pink dildo bat death, we might just be wasting our time.
What I'm saying is the reason that I asked at the time was because there's a chance that somebody might have definitively said, yes, we have documented information that tells us that this can't happen. If we don't have that, then we don't know for sure.
Certainly. But we can't plan for every occurrence that we don't know for certain could or couldn't
No,
happen.
but we can plan for the possibility that he can do anything particularly powerful, which was all I asked.
So, based on that roll, you do know that sin eaters are a thing that the Chiron group has had to employ occasionally, especially in their attempts to retrieve ectoplasm and pieces of ghosts that can be used for some of Thama technology.
Like the plasma ball in my neck.
Yeah. But that's a rare resource, and as far as you know, all of the sin eaters that are within reasonable reach have been commandeered by Task Force Valkyrie, because they're the ones who tend to try and commandeer that kind of thing.
What I can say is that the functionaries that our company typically uses for the hunting and capture of ghosts, which is a practice that we do partake in on a fairly regular basis, are currently occupied by members of Task Force Valkyrie. I can attempt to open negotiations if that is something we feel we desperately need in this occasion, though I will note that dealing with Task Force Valkyrie is a little bit like dealing with any other branch of the armed forces in that
Can we not?
they like to swing their dicks around.
Can we not call in the military on this one, please?
So,
why don't we at least make an effort to go to this site and see if that resolves the issue?
Oh, that is the intent, but we're seeing
You
it as
haven't been.
precautions.
Yeah, going to the site should answer whether or not a ghost shows up or create the most favorable conditions for this ghost to show up if he's around, and could answer other questions because it is the location of the lab, and maybe Colleen will have magic flashbacks, or we'll be able to determine something the mages couldn't.
Something to just put on the table, though. Colleen, again, this is up to you. But what if some of us went to the site and you stayed in a safe location in contact via video? And so you'd potentially be able to ask questions, but you wouldn't be exposed directly.
If Colleen's...
I thought the whole thing was that Colleen has a strong connection, so having her there is going to be physically there is going to be the best chance of success that we have.
And she's the one who has the questions to ask the ghost via our medium.
I mean, risk not negated, just...
Colleen would have to.
With respect, I appreciate all of you jumping in. I was asking Colleen.
I mean, I really don't feel like hiding back, but also, even if that was what I wanted to do, if it's really me that's going to pull him out, I don't think me being in a safe location is going to actually do that.
That's exactly what we were trying to say.
Yeah.
And again, I appreciate that, but I felt since this is her show, she's probably better off being the one to weigh in.
Well, I can take one passenger in my vehicle.
William.
Yes.
And if you would let me...
Sorry. I had a question for the storyteller, but if you have a thing you would like to say first.
I didn't get to finish my sentence because Paul interrupted.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Paul interrupted in character.
Go ahead.
I'm aware of that. That doesn't help. The reason we were considering whether or not we have access to additional ghost measures is because additional ghost measures are a good thing to have before you go talk to a ghost. And if we don't, we can go if Colleen feels like we've got the precautions we need. If we need to spend a few weeks seeing if maybe there's suddenly an unemployed, freely available ghost helper or that the Chiron group can pay, that's also Colleen's call. But that is something we should decide and know before we go talk to a ghost. You can't do that in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah, you can't undo that.
So that's why we are talking about this before we go.
I don't think we have a few weeks to wait this out.
No,
we don't. I was being
Do
sarcastic.
this now.
William,
Yes.
do I know of any practical measures that non-specialists can take that, like, kind of like Kayla suggested, does salt work? You know, things like general anti-ghost practices that non-ghost specialists can employ that we could quickly acquire in order to assist us in whatever way we possibly could.
And clearly salt works. Supernatural has never steered me wrong before.
You can roll me intelligence and occult.
Supernatural is an unofficial World of Darkness series, as I contest.
It's not.
Shut up.
It's not even unofficial.
Shut up.
It's being run in the system by a storyteller who has different ideas about what the rules should be.
Exactly. It's
That's
a homebrew. It's a homebrew World of Darkness.
I'll
Do
give
I
you
have
homebrew.
Do I have any modifiers for my background in ghosts?
Extra +1.
I did think it was funny
One
that in
success.
the Hunter rulebook it says under inspiration and examples, it's like the new show Supernatural is a good example of hunters. That dates it a little bit.
So, based on your experiences, ghosts are one of the hardest things to deal with as far as supernaturals go. Like, everything else that is, even zombies can be shot repeatedly. Everything else that lives and has or has a corporeal body, those aren't necessarily one and the same, can be dealt with physically. Ghosts require a very, very specialized equipment to even be able to interact with them, or they require you to play a whole series of riddles and mind games to try and figure out how to deal with them on a sort of non-direct scale. So unless you have any specialized equipment for dealing with ghosts,
Me.
which you know, your plasmic call helps, but like Task Force Valkyrie has etheric rounds that are designed for shooting ghosts specifically, for instance. But either you have stuff specifically geared towards hitting ghosts, or you have to play the roundabout riddle game to try and figure out how to deal with the ghosts' problems while they are still a threat to you. Ghosts are not an easy process to deal with.
So, from my experience, there is no simple go down to the kitchen store and grab these 5 things solution for ghosts. They require specialized technology, which I am a piece of, or specialized persons, which I also am one of. While I am not primarily geared towards dealing with ghosts, it is a happy accident of my abilities. We do not have access to anybody whose specialty it is, and the closest thing to dealing with them directly would be contacting Task Force Valkyrie, which, as previously stated, not my favorite thing to do. So we are as ready as we can be at the moment without reaching out to said task force to deal with ghosts.
What sort
I
of
mean-
threat do they pose? What-
Task Force Valkyrie? Task Force Valkyrie is going to come in and kill every supernatural that's around.
Hence,
No,
hence me not
I mean the
wanting to.
ghost.
Hence me
The
not
ghost.
going. Oh, the ghost. The risks involved with ghosts are many and varied. You find out as you interact with them.
That's why I ask. I hope we might be able to get some hints before we have to go and interact with this.
Possession, poltergeisting. They could potentially throw things around if they're angry enough. They could potentially possess your form if they're angry enough. They can interact in various vague degrees with the world around them. They can haunt your dreams, give you nightmares. Or they can just putter around making loud noises.
This is going to be a highly theoretical question. I understand that. And I'm looking specifically over at Brother Kindness.
Mm-hmm.
As best as you would be able to theorize in this situation, could this guy conceivably possess her?
He looks over at Colleen for a second, and you sort of... He looks down for a second as if thinking for a moment. While Alexander the Fate Weaver's motives are inscrutable, and his objectives unknowable, at least as far as any of us among the Awakened are concerned, his abiding drive, in a lot of ways, was freedom, and the belief that not even fate can control one who is determined enough to decide their own destiny. He was appalled at the idea of anyone losing their free will. I think even if he held that power, it would be something he would refuse, even had he the strength to do it. Because freedom and the ability to make one's own decisions were at the core of his being in many ways.
That's great, and I appreciate his appreciation of every person's agency. But that wasn't even kind of what I asked. I asked, can he?
I don't have that answer.
Okay.
So, Brother Kindness, would you care to direct us to this park?
It's not even a park, honestly. It's a section of open grass that, as far as I am aware, doesn't exist on any known record.
This lawn, then.
Well, shall we go then? And he turns and starts to head out the door.
I'm gonna take my clue from those who have tangled with ghosts before. Just look at the others and see if they look ready to go.
I follow.
Yeah, Astrid's going.
Nico, drive.
What is Drew doing?
I don't care about car triage now that there's not a Satan.
No. I just mean, is Drew ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
There's room in my car if we're taking vehicles for 3 or 4 more people.
That works.
All right. So,
Yeah, I'll take mine.
Drew is very much in favor of people doing exactly what he wants.
So, Kindness leads the group. Mostly, he sort of just keeps moving on foot and is always ahead of you, even though you're following him at what seems to be relatively decent street speeds in vehicles. But every time you try and look and see where he's at what seems to be a brisk jogging pace ahead of you. And every time you seem to have begun to catch up to him, he's further ahead of you.
Fantastic.
But he leads you up through
For reference, for whoever's riding with me, the stereo is currently playing Highway to Hell.
Then I feel like for comedic purposes, Drew is there just putting hands.
Depending on how long the drive takes, it will go from that to probably to Welcome to the Jungle, then Welcome Home, then probably Getting Away with Murder by Papa Roach before we actually get there.
Is it like Welcome Home, Coheed and Cambria, Welcome Home?
Yes, Coheed and Cambria, Welcome Home.
Yeah.
Paul is enjoying the music for the first part and then clearly gets lost towards the end of the drive.
So
really quick.
Yes.
On the way. Nico's gonna get a text.
Okay.
I am not the only person who thinks it's a terrible idea to let the supernatural to let the person who is apparently all of this nonsense is weighing on be the person making the call, right?
Fuck no.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I'm not fucking insane. Smiley emoji.
Thumbs up emoji comes back.
The fuck is wrong with these people?
So, go on.
No.
That was it?
He's trying to eat and talk at the same time.
Yes, do your thing.
The hand waves were continue, William.
Yeah, I know. So I was just laughing at the gestures. So he leads you deeper into the city, and you eventually come upon this section where the city just stops, like in between several different city blocks. There's this like quarter mile of just grass, and you're not certain how you never noticed this was here before.
Pull into the grass.
Anything other than that? Anything specifically weird that's jumping out at us?
I mean,
hopefully figuratively.
You'd have to take a closer look at the area, but just the sheer fact that this place exists in the middle of what you're certain is like a business zone or a residential zone of a thickly packed city.
While I'm sure that I see dead people all over the city, am I seeing dead people in this section?
It is barren here.
Not even ghosts.
Yeah, like not even ghosts exist in this like quarter mile stretch of grass.
Well, that's unsettling. I say as I park the car in the grass and turn it off.
What's that?
Full on Forgotten Realms this shit.
Well, there are ghosts all over the city. It doesn't take one far too long to walk between buildings and find one. At least when you can see them as well as I can. There's nothing here. And that is unsettling.
So Nico steps out of his car, pulling a fairly small Erlenmeyer flask out, sucking it down, recorking it, and just setting it back on his seat. Well, that's kind of weird.
Paul will sort of sidle over towards Nico and say, so you're getting the same sense here too, then?
I mean, I've lived here almost my entire life, and I've driven up and down this road any number of times.
Paul nods towards the flask on the seat and says, what was that one then, if you don't mind my asking?
Oh, eye medication.
I look over at Nico, who is currently having this sort of red glow in his stomach.
Yep.
Do Nico's eyes look different at all?
No, they don't.
No.
Only to me.
All right.
Helps me see things better.
Yeah, I sort of assumed. But just give a shout if anything pops out with your new prescription there.
Righto, yeah.
But as Colleen steps out of whatever vehicle she was riding in, the nothingness very quickly acquires a something. As there is an energy that begins to coalesce in this area, almost in reaction to Colleen's very presence.
Something is happening. I say, in case I'm the only one that can see it.
Kayla walks out with a handheld camera that she is flipping open and turning on.
Oh, wait! I have a thing! I go over... I have a Kirlian camera!
Did you take a dot of Monster Media, Jeremy?
I did not. It's a simple camera.
I reach into my trunk and pull out a camera and hand it to Kayla. You may want to use this as well.
Can it be operated with only one hand?
Possibly, I don't know. It's a Kirlian camera, which is a camera that can see Kirlian energy, which means it can see ghosts.
I'm just saying, is it a handheld camera or...
I have no idea. Let me look in the book. I feel like it's a handheld camera. That seems to be the flavor of like Ghost Hunter style click 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 cameras.
Brilliant camera. It's size 2, so probably could go either way.
So like bigger than a knife but smaller than a rifle.
Damn.
I'd say you could probably use it with you wouldn't be able to get the best pictures with it, but you could probably use it with one hand. If you wanted to set up a good shot, you'd want to use both hands, but you probably can just snap a picture with one hand.
Yep. Now the Kirlian camera only photographs people's auras or objects' auras unless you succeed on a wits and occult roll, in which case you can have it also reveal ghosts and supernaturals.
I feel like wits and occult is not a hard roll for Kayla.
Probably not.
Kayla seems like a wits and occult kind of person.
She will actually just hold that thought and hold that camera, and she goes back into her car and comes out with a stand. Because no surprise, the journalist has a lot of recording equipment and stands for particular situations.
That makes sense to me.
And sets up her handheld with the stand, and she'll hold on to.
I'm just standing back with my seeing eye dog in case I need to blast fire at something, because I might have a slightly better shot of damaging demons because my magic fire is pretty universal.
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of Ghost Hunters style ghost hunting equipment that can be used to find and detect ghosts, but I am a walking ghost detector, so I don't really use it all that much. And so it's like, oh wait, I could hand this to other people.
Okay, you're probably not getting it back.
That's fine. I can afford to replace it.
You can now add a Kirlian camera to your inventory, Jeremy. So you all begin to set up, and to Nikolai, who has the Eye of Ra active, and Zero, who has the plasmic call installed, you begin to see and perceive this swirling ectoplasmic energy begin to sort of rise in the area, as if Colleen's sheer presence has awakened something in this area.
Does it appear to be contiguous or several different individual independent phenomena?
It's more of a convalescence, like several different streams and specks and atoms of energy are converging.
But one nexus point of convergence, not multiple.
Yeah, there seems to be one central convergence point, which is near Colleen.
Nico's just kind of post up on that a little bit and get in position just to see what's going on then.
And actually, I need to check something very quick because one of you has a thing that your character is not aware of.
Or I find out I'm secretly in.
I don't recall what Crowley's dread powers are. I assume none of them would be applicable to this situation.
I don't think they were. I think Crowley's dread powers were not immediately applicable.
Yeah, totally. I assume.
Are they not written on the character sheet?
They're not on the sheet. The only thing that's on the sheet are the innocuous and through eyes thing that he gets for being a familiar.
Mm. We'll have to put those down at some point just so we have confirmation.
All right.
No worries. Okay, I need to check something. What page was that on, Paul, by the way? Or Craig?
Let me see.
Sorry, they are on the sheet under endowments.
Oh, are they? Okay.
None of them should, from what I know.
Was that
It's in
Spirit Slayers or Mortal Remains?
Mortal Remains. The one that doesn't have everything organized by compact or conspiracy.
Yeah, because they had so much.
28.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, so while this is happening, you also begin to see this convalescence of energies, Paul, that sort of swirls in from the outer bounds of this dead zone, beginning to coalesce, sort of swirling around Colleen as if she was in the eye of a hurricane.
Paul blinks and says, if I'm still standing near Nico, I'll look over at Nico and says, I can't imagine what that's looking like to you if this is what the rest of us are seeing.
You're muted, Jack.
Shiny, yeah.
You see ghosts or spirits or anything shooting out of it?
It's mostly a convergence. Kind of has a little bit of a, Aurora Borealis mixed with a solar flare and a little bit of, I'd say, Star Trek Voyager.
Question to the storyteller: is this a situation of sort of, is the orange I see the same as the orange you see? Like, is that how it looks to Paul, or is he experiencing it in a different way?
It's vaguely similar, at the very least.
Okay.
Like, you might not see it exactly the same, because his is brought on by an alchemical mixture and yours is brought on by a magic item.
Right. That's what I was wondering how different that is.
But it definitely follows the same similar patterns. You might see differences of coloration, you might see differences of brightness, but you could definitely both make out the fact that it is energy coalescing around Colleen.
Okay. Does she look okay?
Her hair is picking up in the wind that is suddenly here that wasn't there a minute ago, but otherwise she seems fine.
Okay.
As she takes...
I'm assuming that these people that Brother Kindness and Colleen, who are currently standing still, are not people that I need wits occult rolls to frame the shot right on.
No.
So I take note of their auras currently.
Yep.
And prepare to see if they change.
Yep. So as you take photos and as Colleen takes just a couple of steps forward and looks around.
Right. I know you said photos, but I heard as you take Frodo's, and I'm just picturing Kayla pulling hobbits out of the ground.
You have the one ring. I need to see it for a second.
Like pulling
Get back here. Your destiny is important, and the reason you are important is because you're bad at things.
A successful series of...
if the One Ring shows up, we're leaving this particular patch of land. I don't care.
Oh yeah.
If the One Ring shows up, it will take 5 seconds for Paul to go from like bumbling Englishman to full on Andy Serkis.
I was gonna say, to get shot in the head, you're absolutely right.
Spanner becomes Smeagol like that.
Yeah, like just like right away. You want to go back to Nina's house? I'll stay here and guard it.
That's when a Chiron group cleanup squad comes in, and,
Exactly.
and the campaign ends.
Bring it, bitches.
So as Colleen sort of takes a couple steps forward and looks around and kind of looks up and just, Father, and you see that energy, those of you that can see it, kind of begin to increase in strength.
Does it look like it's forming into something, or just like it's getting mad?
It seems to be converging, and as it does, a shape begins to form. For those of you who can see the twilight and see the ethereal, and a few moments later, even those of you who can't see into the twilight begin to see a faint glow begin to form in the air in front of Colleen. As first the shape only begins to form to those who can see the twilight, and then a few moments later it comes to be visible to those who have normal sight. The outline of a man, the flowing shape of what was probably once a long coat, the well-worn face of someone who has seen much and experienced more than one could possibly imagine. His hair kind of blown back by wind and just wild, and while not unkempt, certainly an amount of scraggly that is formative of someone who only does enough to keep their hair maintained. This person has the appearance of someone who only puts as much effort into their appearance as is required to be passable, and not an ounce more, and is dressed in the garb of someone who is willing and likely has done simply pick up and leave and walk at any moment that the inspiration strikes them. This is a wanderer through and through that is forming in the shape of a weary-eyed and somewhat beleaguered, but definitely intrigued and suddenly interested ghost that begins to form before Colleen. As its shape comes to be apparent to everyone, including those of you who only have normal sight. Those of you who can see into the twilight see that this spirit is radiant with energy. The twilight hues and energy that form its being outclasses any ghost that you might have seen before. As it is sort of a nexus of energy that you would equate with dozens of ghosts, not just a single one.
So what we're saying is, I don't need a wits composure roll to feel the locus of energy right now.
No, you don't. In fact, those of you who can't even see the supernatural can at least see the ghost. No. You can't tell how potent it is, but you can definitely see the ghost without needing to be able to see the supernatural.
And Drew's just sitting over here like, I sure feel a chill that seems magic.
Yep, being blind. And as the ghost speaks, it speaks with this tone that is sepulchral, this faint echo of long lived ago that is almost like the toning of an ancient bell as he speaks. My dear girl, I did not expect to ever lay eyes upon you in this life or the next. Yet here you are. How can I help? And Colleen kind of looks uncertain for a minute and just kind of takes in the scene and kind of looks over her shoulder at the rest of you like, what do I do now?
I just
Fried chicken sandwich, waffle fries, and a large root beer.
Paul will just nod encouragingly, or attempt to nod encouragingly towards her.
I will gesture towards the ghost and say, God machine.
Kayla's entire expression, body posture, language, and she's not actively shouting out the words, but she might as well be screams, "This is the worst fucking idea." Especially based on what she sees in that damn camera.
Oh yeah. Now, the photos coming from the camera are breathtaking in more than one way.
Colleen, do you want us to ask some questions?
She kind of looks back up. The only questions I can think of right now are all personal. So if you guys have anything that you need to know, just, yeah.
I'll step up. Something is drawing monsters into the city. Something that we surmise is related to the work you were doing and to Colleen's existence. Do you know what this is, this Terminus tendency? As someone in the background goes, title drop.
Right?
I said the name of the movie.
The ghost sort of turns these hollow eyes that to you who can see almost seem like miniature stars as he looks over at you. The energy that coalesces here draws like a magnet to the natural powers of the supernatural. And Colleen, being born of the energies that I sought to control, is a useful goal to any, and many would see her merely as an object to be used. What draws them, well, there are dark powers at work. The tendency, as you speak, as you call it, is not a magnetic phenomenon as the energy itself is, but the operation of creatures that work in the shadows and beyond the veil. The puppet masters of the events that have haunted you are powerful and seek control of that which I have wrought.
Is there a way to remove this power or disseminate it?
It is as yet unstable. The energies of the divine engine, the god machine that I sought to create, are still nascent, still larval. They cannot be harnessed or tempered until they have grown to fruition. To attempt to seal them away risks annihilation. To attempt to disperse them risks Armageddon.
So how do we avoid fucking Armageddon?
The Puppet Master's efforts must be stopped.
Yeah, as far as those puppet masters go, names, addresses, anything?
Sleeping patterns, favorite dive bars.
License plates?
Number of
Social
gods,
security number?
any information you could provide.
Socials would be good. Socials would be real good.
A council of ancient beings from each walk of life. The puppet masters that walk behind the scenes of the supernatural. Ancient dark fae, vampires of the oldest days. Wolves of the darkest aspect. The dead, the lords of the dead. Mages of boundless ambition like myself.
So are we going to have to go through several thematically constructed temples in order to acquire a variety of gemstones? Or is there perhaps a building we could collapse on top of them all?
I was gonna say.
Yeah, is there like a button?
Where are the alphas?
So we can chain them all in a thing and have
No,
a guy
that's a
named
terrible
Crowley.
idea. Only idiots would do that.
Open a door to purgatory and shove them all in.
The first key.
And next season we're fighting Leviathans.
I'm out.
Sorry.
The universe is gonna end while we're making out of character jokes. You realize this?
Yeah, that's probably the correct way for the universe to end.
The first key lies in the one who would command darkness, the one who would lead an army of those who drink the life of others.
Okay, let's
Back to the colonel.
talk non-poetic here.
So you mean like inside of him?
Like, when you say first key, are we literally going to a bunch of people and pulling out quest stones from them?
He is a servant of one of the darker lords. Through him, you may find the Nakalavi.
Why would we want to find the Nakalavi? From what I understand, that's a terrible idea.
This is the bit where, you have to kill it in order to... Jesus.
So again, with the not so poeticness, when we say, can we lay it out in words that are a little less Old English and a little more 8th grade reading level?
The Nakalavi is the least of the puppet masters. Through the Colonel, you can find him. He is the one that you might be able to handle now. And through the strength you may gain through defeating him, you may find the strength to handle the others.
So it sounds like the season finale is killing the Nakalavi. Zero says in character because he's very pop culture savvy.
Okay, now back to the non-poeticness. Giving the power. Are you saying that there's that after we killed this thing,
The knucklehead.
there's something that we have to harvest from it? Like, could God's sakes, I understand you're the ghost of a mage, but could you please speak in normal language?
Oh, trust me, I fully intend to harvest something out of the Nakalavi.
We're going to have a conversation about that. But...
and even before we get to that point, I assume the Colonel, given past interactions, is not going to willingly put us in contact with his boss. Do you have any methods for us to use to unwillingly force him to put us in contact?
He is bound, like any servant, to its master. When the Knuckle of E calls, he must answer.
What you're saying is we should trap him in a box, starve him until he's desperate, and then when his master calls, follow him back.
You think Nina's going to let us use the bathroom again?
Oh, I have facilities.
Use
I have facilities.
Hey, chain him up, heat up a fucking tire iron to white levels. That should be pretty close to what we need, right?
I mean, we can just take him to my torture suite.
So
We have a torture.
during this,
Oh, yeah, I do.
Why do you have a torture
I didn't
suite?
get it. See, I didn't start researching you guys until not right away, so I didn't know about that.
I mean, I
So,
have industrial.
during this entire conversation, Drew has just increasingly a facepalm. Like, that is his contribution here.
So, deal with the leader of the vampires, who will then lead us to the Knuckle of V, whom we can kill, and through killing, somehow gain either knowledge, technology, items, equipment, or simply pieces of the bastard, with which we can then kill the others.
Yeah, could you spell that one out?
I believe that's probably as far out as it's going to get spelled.
All right. My question is, you said first key. How many keys are there?
Well, let's see. There's 9 worlds in Mario. Sorry, 8 worlds in Mario. So our princess has to be in another castle 7 times.
The council numbers 6, and each has at least 1 lieutenant.
There's 6 keys.
Awesome.
Suppose time to get started. I have a question to ask, but not specifically relevant to this part of the conversation. So, if anyone else has any specifics with regard to the Colonel or Knuckle of E or this council.
How do we kill the Knuckle of E?
So place
By fighting like your life depends on it, because it will.
I was hoping that you might say cold iron is his weakness, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Like,
He is a creation of Fae. That which harms fairies and demons may do well against him,
I don't
but it
like
will
that.
not be an easy fight.
So stab him repeatedly with a cold iron dagger. Got it.
this whole place used to be your workshop, is what we've been told.
It was. My arrogance has leveled it, but
Anything left under the rubble that you know of?
he sort of turns and sort of hovers in space and kind of waves a hand over an area, and you see a patch of the grass kind of die away and wither. And underneath you see that there is the faint outline of a floor hatch that has been covered in dirt.
Oh shit, son!
Ah, a loot box.
Paul is also sort of edging nearer.
Okay, question.
Keep talking, guys, and Nico goes over to go investigate.
If we
the
hadn't
hatch.
asked, would you have I hate ghosts.
Ghost hate Luigi. What can I say?
Like, I feel like, so since you haven't definitively said no, let me re-ask the question. Once we kill this thing, how do we harvest the power?
That depends on you.
Oh my god!
You're asking a mad wizard who attempted to create something called the God Machine, died for his attempts, and subsequently became a ghost that appears to occupy a nascent line of spiritual energy to talk in non-riddle fashion. Are you aware of how useless that gesture is?
I'm just saying he seems to be pretty good at it until it gets to certain questions.
What do the man on fire and the woman with the cursed blade have to do with this?
They are a byproduct of the chaos that has been sown. One, an experiment loosed, the other, a woman cursed. But each is a pawn. While they may not know it, they are being used by the council.
Do they bear keys?
No, but they do bear strength. Strength that could be yours and aid in your battle against the first of the lieutenants and the first of the council. If you are able to wield it.
Paul looks around to see if anyone else is going to ask something.
What little more aid that I can give is this. What you seek, the strength that you will find, I cannot force you to take. It is not in the power of any to steer fate. All I can say is that the opportunity will be presented to you, and you will have to act upon it.
I'll be sure to bring my scalpel. It's like give Jeremy a migraine.
Colleen, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, if you guys want to go and inspect, I only have personal questions, she says.
I am pretty confident this ghost is not going to poltergeist out and throw Colleen through a building, so I'm going to follow down wherever Nico went.
Oh, Pauline leans over. Well, not leans over, but just approaches Colleen and says, "Do you want some privacy for this part of the conversation?"
Let's see.
That'd be nice, yeah.
He says, "I don't know if this is anything that you've thought about, or if it's something that maybe you already know and we just haven't talked about it. But if you don't know, and you think it's a reasonable part of the question and something you might like to find out, ask it if you still got any family."
She kind of nods. And she kind of sits down and looks up at the ghost, who looks down at her for a second and hovers downward and seems to assume a sitting position in front of her as they begin to have a conversation.
Paul's look of concern and at Colleen sort of fades as his head turns back towards the hatch, and he scuttles very quickly in that direction.
Which Nico's already inspecting, and it's a trapdoor. And with the dirt cleared away, you can see there's a handhold that you can lift. It's heavy, but you can lift it.
Lift.
Paul, unless Nico has already done it. But,
already done it.
Okay. Then I think as that happened, Paul goes, "Look, traps!"
This is hardly a Dungeons and Dragons adventure. Not everything you find is trapped.
Paul says, "Look, if you've been through as many labyrinths as I have, you wouldn't be that cavalier about the absence of traps. Believe me." Ditto goes for mages' layers. So I appreciate your expertise in certain fields.
So how vaporized is Nico by this point? He's finishing his disclaimers.
You You lift, and you definitely see a point where there was probably some kind of physical trap that has been blasted away, presumably in whatever level this is on. So they're definitely
stairs or a ladder.
Yeah, there's a series of stairs that go down.
Trump.
Paul just sighs and follows.
Smartphones out, LED on.
What is everyone else doing while the three of them are heading down?
Shit's gone down.
Not moving a muscle from where I'm at.
Okay. You're just watching Colleen have a conversation with her father.
Yep, because we're not leaving the crazy mage who she still doesn't entirely trust with the god machine.
It's Ghost Dad with, believe it or not, a less problematic lead.
I appreciate you right now.
Kayla will get a text. Off to die in a hole.
Scream loud if you do.
And the conversation between Colleen and Alexander kind of quiets to the point that it's just the two of them speaking, and it's difficult to hear.
I turn up the audio.
Crank up that audio gain and get that shotgun mic pointed.
Go up as the headphones go in. There is absolutely zero trust here. Sorry, Colleen.
I mean, you're mostly picking up personal conversation, like, do I have a mom? And is there anyone else alive? Is there a family? You know, what was home like?
Fair enough.
And the rest of you, while you are headed down the stairs,
I find a +3 Vorpal dagger of Knuckleheavy slaying.
But does it have wind fury?
No, it does not have fury.
No, see, that one's already in circulation. You have to harvest it off of the lady with the stabby curse magic.
Yeah, she's got that one.
So
dibs, by the way.
You head down,
Thank you very much.
and there is a heavy wooden door at the bottom of these stairs. And Jack, you're muted.
Open the door.
Right. Can I try to stop him this time?
You probably caught up to him by this point, so are you gonna try and stop him from barreling through into this next room?
Yes, I super am. After we already saw one trap.
We saw the remnants of a trap. It was not a trap.
That doesn't make it better.
Nico has a very specific trap disarming technique, which is they usually are disarmed after you step on them.
Yes.
I follow behind Spanner so that if the trap goes off, it kills those two and not me.
I just want to note that this is our medic talking about con-based trap detection.
I mean, I'm not kidding. I would like to try to stop him from opening the door.
Go ahead and roll me dexterity and athletics.
Contested with Nico.
Yeah, go ahead. Do the same, Nico. We'll see which of you is faster at moving.
This will probably not be that difficult for Spanner.
Forget how I roll.
1 success, but it's a 10.
3 successes.
Yeah, so Spanner, you sort of dart your way down the stairs and sort of catch him by the arm. He's about to barrel through the wooden door.
What's up?
Look, I promise I'll let you go in first. Not going to argue with you on that. You get to walk first through all the doors. Just give me 30 seconds to take a look. All right?
All right. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I know the one upstairs is burned out. It just means there might be more.
Okay.
And what do I roll to take a look and see?
Wits and composure.
Ooh, can I roll that too?
Yep.
Would it? Are you sure it's not? It's not crafts for trap.
If you want to use crafts, you can. Wits and crafts.
Actually, I guess it's it's ultimately the same either way. I have a specialization in traps.
Just
For my conspiracy.
Did you add willpower to that for some reason?
No, I've still got Eye of Ra active, so I get an extra 4 dice to my perception checks, basically.
Okay.
And I rolled a shit ton of 10s.
I add my conspiracy to trap rolls. That's what it is. All right, that's what I roll.
Nico rolls high enough to see that Zero has put his sunglasses back on.
Okay.
So you definitely see before I do.
Yeah. So Nico, as you sort of stare at this door, and now that he's told you to look for traps, you stare at it, and your mind just kind of focuses, and like your peripheral vision kind of like zones in, and you start to Sherlock Holmes the door. And as you observe, almost like this sort of heads up display in your mind's eye, just kind of analyzing and observing.
I have system active.
Meanwhile, Paul is just sort of gently tapping.
You notice that there are at least 3 different traps on this door. Each, however, as you look closer, each of them has been disarmed prior to you getting here.
So Nico will just very quickly point out, as Paul's like doing his tap investigation, well, there was one here, and there was one here, and there was one here, but they look deactivated to me. You're the expert, though.
Paul just turns around and looks at him and says, you can see all that with your new prescription. And you still open the damn doors without checking.
It's a nice brew.
After you?
He seemed polite. I figured, he would have rung all the doorbells for us. So anyway, Nico will open the door and walk through.
Paul will do a literal half bow and gesture in front of him.
So you open the door, and from one of those traps, there is it looks like it would have been some kind of magical energy trap, and there's this spark of electricity that sort of cascades out towards you, and then just curves back and grounds itself back into the wall without threatening you.
Neat.
Paul will mark that fancy for harvesting if we have time, and then proceed probably about 5 feet behind Nico down this hallway.
So you step into a massive library/laboratory. As you look in, the walls are lined with bookshelves, and this room is maybe 2 or 3 levels tall. And every wall is completely covered in bookshelves, and there are tables set out throughout the entire center mass of this area with a variety of reagents and experiments and ingredients set out, and magic circles have been drawn in certain spots, and you are looking at the messiest Grand Archmage's laboratory.
Gentlemen, before we move any further,
Paul is already taking pictures.
I would suggest that in an effort to maintain the alliance that we have currently established, we refrain from informing our respective organizations of the location of this place until after we have dealt with, at the very least, the Knucklevi. I would hate to have to kill you.
That's a little bit of a non sequitur and kind of aggressive, but I think I'm picking up the general thematics behind the statement.
If we inform our various organizations of the location of this wealth, they will all want to acquire it at the expense of the others, without question and without concern for whatever greater threat the city is currently facing. It would probably be in the best interest of cooperation that we save that particular fight for after we've dealt with our problem.
I wonder if there's any Knucklevi books down here.
Possibly.
In addition to the books and the circles and so forth, is there anything in here that specifically looks like it is a magical item or items? This is clearly where things were created. Are any of the created things still here?
Roll me wits and composure.
Okay.
Can I do the same, but I'm looking at the various ingredients and stuff, seeing if there's anything of alchemical significance?
Sure.
I'm also looking for magic items.
Go ahead.
Anything that can I add my conspiracy to this?
You can add your professional training to this.
Okay, well, it's even better.
I'm just sort of following behind. Anything I noticed down here?
Are you looking for anything in particular? You can always just make me a general roll, but are you looking for anything in specific?
Aside from like things that might jump out to me as a person, not really.
Okay, let's make me a general roll then.
Okay.
I'm also just doing like a general scan of the room.
Yep, go ahead and make that roll for me as well.
Do I get any bonus for my conspiracy dots?
This is not quite your field, so
Okay.
no.
That's fine. 0 success.
All right. So, Drew, this area seems pretty clean. You're not seeing any immediate threats in the vicinity. Nikolai, as you look around on the tables, there is all sorts of alchemical reagents and ingredients that might be of use to you sort of lying around. And as you look around, you can see on the back wall, there's a table, and you can see a good half dozen feathers from a Bennu bird in a rack.
Well,
Sort of.
hot damn. Yep, we're going to go see if we can snag that. He's just going to start scraping things into a bag. Yeah.
Yeah. There's an incredible variety of alchemical ingredients here. And they range from anything from like modern day chemical dosages to ancient, medieval materials, eye of a frog, liver of a bat, etc., Bennu bird feathers, and then you've just got like naproxen and just random chemicals that might be useful.
Cool. Man, this is a real treasure trove. It's hard to ethically source a good bat liver these days. I'm really excited.
Are you confident that these are ethically sourced?
I'm confident that I didn't have to do anything unethical to get these.
Do I see anything, William?
Okay.
So with your 4 successes, as you look around, you sort of see something that seems familiar to you. As you sort of look around, you see a statue of a man standing upright, holding a cane between his hands as he sort of stands and looks out forward. And there's sort of like this very square base of this statue. You've seen this statue somewhere before.
Would that be a separate roll to place it?
Potentially, if you wanted to just make an intelligence and composure roll.
Okay. Oh, no. Okay, I as a player think I just realized. 2 successes?
I mean, if you as a player just realized, you're probably correct.
Is it from the apartment?
Yeah, you've seen.
I was going to say, that's some session 1 shit, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. And Paul will turn back to Zaro and say, honestly, I've got to agree. I think having all of our organizations engaging in a turf war over this is not going to do anybody any favors, including all the good people of Atlanta who should remain ignorant to this sort of thing. My proposal, and he addresses everybody else, would be that once we address the issue with the Knuckler V, we jointly inform our organizations and arrange for a joint task force to approach with joint approval and divide up the knowledge that can be found herein.
You do realize that proposal leaves me with the unenviable task of having to perform diplomacy with the heads of your respective organizations in the Atlanta area.
No, it doesn't put you in. We contact our own organization.
Head of my organization's Atlanta branch because I'm the only one here. But the point is actually still relevant.
Or, I mean, if you guys want to, but if we've got a plot line that involves a 6-boss battle arc, maybe we hold off on the whole dividing of this kind of spoils until after that's all done.
I would agree with that counteroffer.
That's fine as well. My concern is that we don't have conspiracy on conspiracy violence when all of our conspiracies need to be pointed outwards at the other threats.
No, that makes sense. Also, I would like to put forth that we call
check
this
on Paul, because I feel like he's going to get us to agree to this and then immediately go ninja. Is that the MMO term for this?
right.
Ninja looting.
All this shit up.
Well, okay, I don't know why you're blaming Paul when one person is already literally shoving shit into a bag.
Yeah, but at least I'm doing it in front of you guys.
Yeah, but
That's not ninja looting. That is need because this is my class.
That's need before greed.
Anyways,
Well, yeah, no, that's well, yes,
we don't.
yeah.
Hey, you just didn't collect books.
I would agree. I would agree that such a proposal would be in the best interest of all.
Paul will look around at the others and see how they're leaning.
I'll agree to this under one condition. I get to name this place, and we're calling it the Library of Alexandria.
Wouldn't the Library of Alexander work more appropriately?
It's a reference and genders and blah, 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 blah. I'm going for the historical bit.
I was... well, that's the name of the person who built it, but okay.
Paul kind of hooks a thumb towards Nico and says, and Nico, through his actions, also brings up a good point. My additional suggestion that would be that with the supervision of all present, each of us looks through and determines if there's anything of value here that we can take with us to put to immediate use.
I'm not particularly expert at finding, locating, and ascertaining the nature of magically crafted items. I'm more of a biological specimen on that aspect. But if you should find any magical knives or bow and arrows, those are my expertise on the field of combat.
All right, and just waiting to hear from. I guess Kayla is still up above.
Yeah, Astrid and Drew are the other two.
Okay, yeah, I'm just confirming that Kayla wasn't here. So yeah, looking at Astrid and Drew for their thoughts.
About this time, Nico gets a text that says, "Are you all dead yet?"
Yeah. What comes back is a series of of cell phone photographs of the interior of this place.
Responded, "Have you all killed each other for it yet?"
Discussing that now.
Sweet.
So, William, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, because I may be getting this wrong. For the Lucifuge, aside from you might use it for demonic evil, the main questions around like a site of a mage lair are just, is there anything Lucifuge here?
Yeah, generally speaking, when it comes to things that we want you to find and bring back, it's usually anything demon related or anything, related to the Lucifuge and the finding of other members.
Okay. I'm not sharing that, but I just wanted to make sure I understood. It works for me. But I still do want to do that insight check to see if anyone's negotiating under the assumption that they will wrangle this compromise and then subvert it.
Sure, roll me wits and empathy.
Is discern intent a relevant specialty? I feel like
yes, it is.
My journalistic status is coming into play at last. Journalistic.
Air quotes.
2 successes.
I'll go ahead and start because I'm not rolling to contest it, because Zero, you can tell that what Zero said previously was absolutely true. He is the director of operations for the Chiron group, so there isn't actually anybody else to report to, and he definitely doesn't want to have, because the task force to split up all the stuff between the chapters would require him having negotiation and diplomatic conferences with the heads of the other conspiracies Atlanta branches, and he really doesn't want. He wants to put that off as far as possible. Because
that's a conversation for later.
So yes, he is fully upfront with the let's deal with that another time.
So what because I would assume Drew is really trying to figure out if Paul is lying here. What am I rolling?
The two people who have the resources and contacts to my knowledge to essentially just come back and take the stuff after everyone agrees to leave it alone are the agents in the Chiron.
Yeah, so Zero and Paul.
So you two are definitely of more suspicion.
So what do I roll?
If you roll me the main question is just whisper me either if you do intend to potentially come back and see if you can snag something for the order outside of this agreement. Whisper to me manipulation and subterfuge. If you don't, whisper to me presence and charisma, and I will make the roll for you.
Would that be presence and persuasion or expression?
Presence and expression. Okay, I will make this roll for you. Paul seems to be genuine. He definitely seems to be like, let's not have a fight here while we're in the middle of, potential apocalyptic situation over these items.
As you're watching Nico around the room, Drew, he seems to be looking at this with a very evaluative eye. Like he's considering the potential applications and use and best pragmatic employment of the area.
Paul looks at Astrid and says, "What about you? Do you think you and your folks will be all right with this as well?"
I mean, I'm okay with it. I don't know about them, but I honestly don't care right now. I'm okay with it.
All right. And Paul says, "Then in the interest of full disclosure," and he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a sort of William, correct me if I'm describing this wrong, but sort of a steampunkish looking pocket watch.
Yeah, it's like a little timepiece, like circular timepiece thing.
And holds it up and says, "Who wants to see a magic trick?"
Pick me.
And I will give it a spin in the forward direction.
Yeah. So you look over at the statue and sort of spin the dial on the timepiece forward. And as all of you are watching, you see the statue that he points out that is of this sort of adult male with a staff between his hands, sort of slowly begin. The stone itself seems to crack and age and crumble as cracks form on it as the statue itself begins to lean forward and shift so that the staff is placed on the ground with one hand using it to lean on as the figure becomes ever more hunched as the statue itself seems to age and the person depicted in it seems to age rapidly. And as the statue reaches the age of an elderly old man, a line draws itself in the base of the statue as a drawer appears that can be pulled out from the base.
Ooh, fancy.
Paul heads over and unless anybody stops him, we'll open the drawer. Actually, I'm going to check for traps.
I'm going to let Paul blow up. There's a trap.
I just want to say I'm sitting back just internally giggling at how different this scene would have been if I had not switched out characters.
While
I think someone might have been drug unconscious out of this place with a "we will talk about this shit later."
With an eye on what Paul's doing, I would also like to see if there are any viable technology body parts that could be acquired and removed from this place.
What's the composure?
Nico
That
just
one
wants
you
to
can
see
add
what
your conspiracy.
Nico just wants to see what Paul pulls out of the drawer. So that's what that 6 successes is for me.
He's actually not. Well, I'm checking for traps first.
Okay.
So it's not trapped.
Okay. I will slide it open, and I'm not trying to stand in front of it or hide it.
Yeah. So
5 successes.
yeah. Inside, as you look around with 5 successes, you definitely find a number of monster parts that could be used. You don't have the capacity to create things with them, but you definitely find like an amount of ectoplasm that could be used for the creation of more plasmic calls for other people. You definitely find like the severed digits of a couple of different werewolf creatures or like changing breeds that could definitely be used for like the claws required for a weapon of last resort and stuff like that.
Paul looks like a little kid who just opened up a Nintendo 64 shaped present to find socks inside.
No, that's just what that's what Zero sees looking around. What you see inside, you find 2 items. One, there is a length of ribbon of spun silk of a blood red coloration that is roughly like 20 feet, just sort of, and about this thick, of this just length of spun silk ribbon. The other thing that you find is a small sphere that has the icon of a blood red sun emblazoned upon it.
All right, going back to the Christmas morning, Paul's like, Nintendo 64! Can I roll to see if I know what those are in character?
What would this even be?
Conspiracy plus professional training, maybe?
Yes.
Or academic research? I don't.
This would be intelligence and academics, and you can add your conspiracy.
Okay. And I also get a bonus on academic rolls to identify artifacts too.
Yep.
So that's actually. You said add conspiracy to it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a total of 5 extra. 7 successes.
Nice.
So you're not completely certain, but there is an amount of visible indicator and similarity that suggests that you might be looking at, if not the items themselves, simulacrums of a couple of the legendary items that some of the groups have been hunting for. The small sphere and the iconography on it, you don't have a lot of specific details on what it looked like, but if you had to guess anything, and based on the slight amount of energy that you can read with your eye, if anything was to be defined as an item called the Crimson Veil, this might be it, or at least something like it. It might be an attempt at recreating it or a simulacrum of it. The ribbon, just by comparison, you would have to guess, and based on the amount of knowledge that you have of Norse myth, this looks like this might be the fetters of Fenrir, or at least something, again, a simulacrum of the fetters of Fenrir.
Okay. Paul will...
Keep your hand in your pocket, Tyr.
If he's not already wearing gloves, will pull on his gloves and very gently reach in and pull each of them up and hold them up so that everyone can see.
Ooh, Christmas ornaments.
That's not very descriptive.
He has just a
kidding.
big grin on his face as he turns around and says, "My friends, I think we found our bait. These are at least approximations of the Crimson Veil and the Fetters of Fenris."
Approximations as in fakes, but very well done fakes, or?
I'm not entirely sure yet. We may need to see if we can tie up a giant, bloody, world-ending wolf and see if we can get a vampire to walk in sunlight.
I mean,
but if nothing else, I think we've got a way to lure in our little keys.
it shouldn't be too terribly difficult to stake a vampire, strap this over his face, and hold him outside till morning.
Text, are you dead yet?
No, but we found some cool shit. Also, this place might work really well as a hideout, assuming that we can still get back to it now that we've found it once.
Good to know.
Paul says, "I trust it goes without saying, you need to keep these things secret and out of sight."
So what you're saying is, keep it secret, keep it safe.
I specifically didn't say that, Nico, but yes, exactly so. And he looks around at everybody and says, "Now, you all know my inclination would be to just stuff these in my pockets, but in the spirit of cooperation in which we've entered into this enterprise, I'm not going to do that. We do need to get these out of here."
Also, I don't know if I can take all of you at once.
I mean, yeah.
Do we
I
want to?
forgot my invisibility belt. So
Do we want to stash him back in the old dude?
I'd rather keep them with us so we know where they are.
If they're in the old dude, we know where they are.
And that way, if one of us does come to an untimely and sticky end at the hands of something dark that goes bump in the night, they don't get the things. At least not yet.
Paul will turn and look at Drew and says, "Look, you're the one who doesn't trust me the most. Is that all right with you?"
Drew will think about it. In this context, the question I have is, are we sure we can get back here? Because it would be pretty bad to leave these items and then not be able to find them again.
Is Nico texting or is he still stuffing stuff into the bag?
Nico's probably stuffed everything he's going to on this trip into the bag and is just texting Kayla at this point.
Nico, can you send a message to Kayla upstairs and ask her to ask Mr. Ghosty if we're going to be able to get back here?
Yeah, sure. Hey, can you ask the Fady energy guy who's talking to our small ward as to whether or not it's going to be possible if we leave these premises to re-find them in the future?
The reply comes back, first of all, that's not a very nice thing to call our Armageddon device. Second of all, sure, let me just interrupt them and see.
Okay.
Hey, question.
The conversation stops for a second, and the ghost
Sorry.
turns.
I did not intend to interrupt, but the loot hunters downstairs have a question, which is this a one-way trip to Alexander Sanctumville, or do we get to come back later?
You were led here once by one who knows the path, and thus have found it yourself. You will be able to find this place again.
Cool. Thanks. So yeah, Nico will get a text. Imagine the fray. Imagine yes in the most flowery terms possible.
He'll just text back, thank.
And you notice that the weird, like, cryptic riddle nature of his conversation is only when he's talking to the group of you. Whenever he's talking directly to Colleen, he's speaking like a father to his daughter.
Cool.
Yep, he's a dick. Okay.
Yep.
Or there's something else at work here, but you know.
Okay.
I'm going
or
with
that. But we're us,
when he's
William,
on-
so we're gonna say he's a dick.
When he's on tea break from his Oracle job, he gets to speak normally.
William,
Mm,
I'm looking for 3 specific things.
yes.
And seeing if there are anything with my 5, seeing if any of these are around. Do I see anything that looks like they might be either werewolf or vampire ligaments? Do I see anything that looks like it might be a regenerative node? And do I see anything that looks like a pair of yellow crystals that are specifically together?
Possibly.
I'm looking for the raw components for Devil's Eyes, Quick Step, and the regenerative nodule.
Yeah. So
If there is a personal defense swarm, then I'll be looking for that too.
yeah, that
seems less
one's
likely.
not that one's a Chiron original. That's
Yeah.
not a thing that. You can definitely find muscles from what are likely werewolves or vampires. Sort of ligament structures that have been preserved. The regenerative nodule probably less likely to find here, especially because those things don't keep very long. Like you have to get them in very special storage to make them last very long at all.
Yeah, but mage lab, I was hoping.
Yeah. As far as the crystals go, there's a variety of different crystal types. There's probably at least one pair that might be useful for what you're looking for.
So walking over, grabbing the crystals, walking over, grabbing some spare ligament. I could use these.
Paul glances down briefly from the 2 artifacts he's cradling in his hands and says, "Yeah, I don't think anyone exactly is going to fight over the rest of the drawer full of leftovers."
So, were we Nico? Did you share the fact that we could come back?
You're muted, Jack.
And at that point, Nico pop his head up and be like, "Yeah, no, Alexander Fate Boy says that we can find our way back here. So, I vote we have a new headquarters."
Not a bad idea, actually. It's hard. It's impossible to find from the outside unless you've been led here, and inside is quite a massive labyrinth of information that we could probably spend quite a while reading through.
Plus, Colleen can have more father-daughter time.
There's that too.
Point.
Makes sense.
All in
Tired
favor.
of a hotel room anyway.
All in favor of putting the items that the monsters are seeking back in the old man statue, raise your hand.
Paul raises the hand holding the crimson veil.
We put it back in the statue then.
Assuming everybody else is in agreement, he will delicately place them back into the statue with a tremendous amount of care and reverence. And then, William, remind me again what we all and what Paul specifically knows about the Fetters of Fenris.
From the understanding that you have, they are designed to contain the beast within certain supernatural creatures. They can be used offensively and defensively. From what you've learned from Jack Cross, werewolves can use them to prevent themselves from raging, but they can also use them to forcibly prevent a shifter breed from changing forms.
Yeah.
And likewise, they can prevent vampires from accessing the natural bestial nature within, which prevents them from going insane at times, but also prevents them from accessing some of their more aggressive abilities.
If I wasn't unsure whether or not the Aegis already possessed the Holy Grail, I would ask you whether or not the fetters would be the Aegis's Holy Grail.
All of the items that you've been described would be around that level, yes.
Yeah. But I mean, especially, Blood of Witch and Wolf style here.
Yeah, like the fetters, as far as you can surmise, are sort of the ultimate weapon for taming savage monsters.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I will. You know what? I feel like I need to make a willpower roll.
I am keeping an eye on this.
Oh, same.
Well, metaphor.
Intelligence and willpower roll here.
Go for it.
How do I tag willpower?
You don't. You just add it in as a modifier.
Yeah, just
okay. All right. I think that's probably enough. So he puts both of them back in, and then turns the clock back to, or I guess turns the clock backwards, counterclockwise.
Yes. You turn it back, and the statue rises up again and seems to de-age. The cracks in the stone disappear. The line of the drawer disappears, and it's once again just the statue of a young man standing.
Is that pocket watch useful for anything other than turning statues old?
As far as I'm aware, that's about it. It's specifically enchanted for this sort of purpose.
Perhaps then, to keep everyone honest, we should find some place to secrete it away within the premises.
With respect, it was mine before we came here. I'm glad it proved useful, but I have other locations requiring its use as well.
Yes, but without us knowing where it is or when it's been used, it's entirely possible for you to come back here alone, turn the old man old again, remove the items from the cubby, turn the old man young again, and we'd be never the wiser.
Which is why I'm going to suggest that someone else take up permanent residence here when we're all not out in the field.
Fair enough.
And Paul looks around at the others and says, "So what do you say? Anyone want to join me here in our new research hub?"
Oh, you're wondering if anybody here would like to live in a crazy ass laboratory that seems to be significantly designed for research development, and yeah, fucking A.
All right, Rumi. Well, what do you say we go ahead and find ourselves some living space?
Yeah.
But it's probably more polite than in stealing Astrid's couch from her vampire brother.
He doesn't sleep on the couch. He sleeps in the closet.
It's a metaphor.
You put it between your teeth.
So
And-
to clarify, Nico, Drew, and Paul will be taking up residence here.
The odd couple theme starts playing. Da-da-da-da-da.
My roommates keep trying to kill me.
I believe that is a suitably distrustful enough arrangement to maintain some equilibrium.
I guess we ought to establish that any of us are sleepwalkers so that someone else doesn't incinerate them when they are just going to the bathroom or to get a snack, rather than trying to steal these priceless artifacts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I have magical dreams.
I have to go buy a generator.
we can have one brought in if you'd like.
Sure.
Um,
Whatevs.
Can you get me a bed sent in, but not one of the ones with box springs, something with a nice firm bottom to it? My back's not what it used to be.
Absolutely.
The way you say that makes me think that he's going to specifically ask for a box spring to be brought in.
No, I will ask for whatever. If anyone has any specific requests for furnishing, please feel free to forward them through me.
That's only because Zero is a terrible person, and everything he says makes it sound like he's going to stab you immediately after saying it.
I feel like there's
But
some
in
amount of
practice,
prejudice to the
he's
way I talk.
made moderate efforts to be accommodating.
You mean villain talk? Yeah.
He just has resting villain face.
He has a resting villain voice. There you go.
Resting villain voice. That's the problem.
Are you saying that his face doesn't also look exactly like that?
I mean, he also has a resting villain face, but still.
Paul points upwards and says, I think the one other thing we haven't discussed is that our other new associate literally is driven to share information, although she has expressed her intent not to overly disseminate harmful information with the public at large. I do have concerns about her agreement, along with the rest of us, to not provide the location of this site. I think that's something else we need to address with her directly and get some form of assurance before we depart.
From the interactions that I've had thus far with Kayla Wynn, it seems that her specific objectives are the city not being destroyed in the meantime. So I feel it won't be too large of an ask, but we can certainly have that conversation.
Kayla gets a text. Paul's scared you're going to blab this to everybody in the city. Can we get a YN on that? Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, Aaron.
It's probably worth framing it to her in the context of anti-Armageddon measures, as few people knowing about this as possible. Not
Absolutely. And as a matter of politesse, I also don't... I think we need to bring up the fact that it's not presented as a done deal, just something that we discussed as a matter of expediency while we were all here, not something that, well, this is done and you're stuck with it. We should give her the option to agree as well.
There is, after not too terribly long, a photo sent that is a surprisingly effective Photoshop job having been done on the phone of Paul. God knows when the picture was taken, but it was taken at some point. Just with text that says, I'm a fucking idiot. Not to the group as a whole, just to Nico.
Just to Nico. Nico archived that photo.
I like to think it's a picture of Paul in the pizzeria outfit that he had to don for the.
Almost certainly
I like to think it's a picture of Paul in some outfit coming out of a porta potty.
Guys, nope. I know what it is. It's him in the pizza outfit with the sandwich in his pocket.
Yeah,
even stuffed in there.
Yeah, I think she'll be cool with that.
All right. Well, then why don't we all return upstairs? After you all. I'm only kidding. I'll go first. And he turns and walks out the door.
I love Paul.
I acquire my
get,
specimens.
Yeah. Kayla also gets a text.
I was trying to do this before people started leaving. I did want to make one more pass from things that hopefully people have somewhat described to me, and also what I can discern for myself between touch and a dog and smell and stuff. There was a specific reference made about how we were going to find something that had the opportunity to change destiny in here.
We found the two things that the vampires and werewolves are coming after.
I want to try and determine if those are probably the things we're talking about, or if there is something else here that does that.
Fair enough.
Just go ahead and roll me intelligence and occult.
And if anyone's like, "What are you doing?" when Drew starts looking at stuff, he will be open about that.
Paul's doing a haters gonna hate walk back up to the hatch.
Fucking hell! Never mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of this experimentation stuff you don't quite understand, and a lot of it is written down rather than,
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of it is just like you're having to squint and read through very small print. So
It's the one thing I can do, but that doesn't make it any easier to be like, is this magic?
Or is it
Yeah.
scribbling? It looks like scribbling. It might be both.
Drew, and Drew did not share that openly, right? That's just something that he's
Yeah.
trying to determine.
Drew did not share that openly because he doesn't feel like having a 2-hour argument about it.
yeah. So I'm assuming everyone eventually heads up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
So,
you all
Kayla, there's a whole bunch of books down there that you could probably digitize into like a searchable database or something.
So you all head up, and Colleen is sitting down in conversation with her father.
Sorry, am I interrupting?
Does she look okay?
Yeah, I mean she's genuinely smiling, which is something that you haven't seen a whole lot of from her.
Paul will, who I think is the first one out, will go over to Kayla and say, "Well, we're back up here. Do you want to go have a look?"
I understand what's down there, but like, is there something specifically I need to see?
No, it sounds like we'll be back here relatively often. Just want to make sure you feel like you got the opportunity to poke around just as much as the rest of us.
I mean, I'm not going to be taking any. I'm probably not going to be taking anything down there, at least not permanently. I'm going to be bringing this. I'm going to be bringing a hand scanner in, and then somebody else can have all of the information, the actual physical information.
And that's part of something else that was proposed.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, I am not planning on sharing it immediately with anybody because I don't want to start Hunter World War III.
That's exactly right. And again, we feel maybe a bright new age of cooperation can dawn when we finish stopping the end of the world or whatever else is going on. But yeah.
He reaches out and boops Paul on the nose like, "You're adorable."
And Paul smiles with genuine warmth and says, I always think there's something to be said in a little bit of optimism at the end of the day, even if you're not even really sure that there's any cause for it.
Look, I'm an optimist, actually. I really think I am. I'm also just a realist. And when you think of groups like maybe, because all of our groups are fairly okay. Well, Chiron and Lucifer. Mostly.
I think that there is a look exchanged between the Chiron and the Lucifer.
Right. Mostly. Most of us are fairly okay, but that would require a certain amount of, once anybody outside of this little circle here knows, everybody knows. I don't necessarily know every person out there, but I know information. I know what happens to information and how it gets out. And the second that a group like Task Force Valkyrie finds out, or the Ashwood Abbey, or God, the fucking the Nazis.
The loyalist is Thule.
Once they find out, like, those cooperation hopes, they're over.
No, that's why I think we stick with operatives with whom we're familiar, and we go from there.
Oh,
But,
that's the glorious thing about
Operatives with whom we're familiar, we mean the people who are here.
Correct. And that's the glorious thing about a hand scanner is I can make sure nobody knows where that stuff comes from. Not that I'm sharing it, right? Not that I'm sharing it. I'm just saying.
No, it's a brilliant idea. Each of us can take
it democratizes the information.
Right, and each of us can have a copy, and
and if everybody knows something, then nobody owns it.
And Paul will look over to Drew and say, Andrew, I'd appreciate your help in researching what's there. Maybe if Kayla here can help teach me how to use a hand scanner, we can get things in a format that's a little bit more accessible for you.
Sure. As much as it's potentially useful and I appreciate it, you do realize that I've spent most of my life reading ancient texts that are written not in an inaccessible to me way anyways. So I'm actually fine.
And Paul shrugs and says, and I can read a book without my glasses as long as I hold it with my feet, but that doesn't mean I don't like to have my my spectacles out when I'm doing so.
Anyway, John's got his hand up.
I do. Wait.
Yes.
Do I happen to... What are the buildings on either side of this blank space of grass?
Looks like office structure.
All right. If we don't already, I would like to have the Chiron group purchase one of those office buildings and turn it into a clinic and R&D facility.
You probably already own one of those buildings.
Yeah.
And can probably just repurpose it.
Yeah, if we already own one of them, I want to turn it into a clinic and R&D facility because it's very hard to get furniture shipped out to an empty fucking grass lawn that nobody can see. So having the building next door and then we can carry it over is probably the next best thing.
Yep.
Also, it'd be good to have a staffed clinic on hand in case Nico needs stuff.
Makes sense. So
Neat.
as
Nico's gonna run downstairs real quick.
5 rings in the Chiron.
Nico's gonna run downstairs real quick, find something to write on and something to write with, and just label a corner as his, and then come back up.
Paul will very, very congenially follow him down.
Paul goes down
I call this one
and claims space the natural way by peeing.
by right, by pissing in the corner, right? Yeah.
Oh wait, no, werewolf game is later.
You're right, yeah. The way God and Gaia intended.
I am going to murder all of you in the werewolf game because I am a fucking... My werewolf would not be happy.
Don't worry. Aiden doesn't claim his territory by urination.
It's okay. I've got a pillow fort that everyone can share.
so
That's not good because feathers do hold urine smell for a very long time.
So it's roughly at this point, as you guys are all sort of figuring out what you're going to do, that Colleen and the ghost both stand up from their sitting positions, and she kind of offers a nod and the sort of this faint, shaky smile as the ghost kind of nods back and just faintly reaches out and places a hand on her shoulder before he just kind of dissipates into the air.
Not creepy at all.
And she kind of looks back at everyone else.
Okay.
I found out that my last name is Rose.
That's my daughter's middle name.
That's an odd coincidence.
Of course it is.
So we're gonna live downstairs. You can camp out if you want.
I think I'd like that.
Did you find out anything about other family members?
Maybe. It'll take some effort to track them down if they still exist, but I've got some ideas. But that's for later. Right now, we've got work to do. And that is where we're going to end for the week.
Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Well now, welcome to Delta, boys. The first fruit of the cog is. Boy, get your head down. Boy, get your head down. Boy, get your head down. Born to a world of struggle, raised with my brothers three. As a boy I learned through a burning world that nothing ever comes for free. As soon as I could hold a gun now, I was out on the killing fields, fighting in the war to save my home from a foe that will never yield.